I've been telling everyone about this phone, and it's what I keep coming back to every single time. Pixel 8 Pro? Nope, coming back to this. Galaxy S24 Ultra? Nope, I return to this one. OnePlus absolutely nailed it with the 12, and here's why I keep coming back to what I consider to be the most complete Android package on the market. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and to understand why this is such a big deal, we have to go back for a second. OnePlus's early phones were what would eventually be called flagship killers. The gist is they packed in all the same or sometimes better performance specs than the top S series, Pixels and Huawei P series of the time, and with pretty solid battery life and great software, but with compromises in build, display and long-term software support to enable the crazy competitive pricing. My favourite of these is the OnePlus 3 that offered Galaxy S7 Edge performance and battery life for $400, where the latter came in at almost double. Since then, OnePlus's smartphone lineup has experimented with hyper-premium phones, more budget-conscious options, and a blend in between. But when the OnePlus 11 came out, I thought, hang on a minute, they're onto something here. Sure, the phone had top-tier performance and super fast charging, but it also had chart-topping battery life, a really solid display, and some half-decent cameras. It just needed that push to compete with the big boys at the time. And what a push OnePlus gave this phone. The 12 not only brings the staple OnePlus speed, battery life and 3-stage alert toggle that we've all come to love, but it now sports a truly excellent display and a camera system that doesn't just nip at the heels of the competition, but is right up there alongside it in many scenarios. We'll get into that in more detail a little bit later, because one area where I think OnePlus isn't quite up to speed yet is long-term software support, with the competition offering a little more on top of the company's commitment to 4 years of OS updates and a further year of security patches. Now, I wouldn't call this bad support by any means, and I'm the sort to upgrade my phone way less than 4 years ahead. But if OnePlus really wants to put a stamp on it, it needs to match what the competition is doing when it comes to its support policies. And the software itself, while I think is more than good enough, does have its shortcomings that I've become all too aware of after dailying this thing since launch, so let's touch on those. Speaking of, the unwanted touch rejection for the curved display can be really fiddly and finicky, and there was an update not long ago that adjusted the quick settings shade to look more Apple-like, which I'm really not a fan of. We are of course on Android 14 with 15 just around the corner, and actually you can install OnePlus's beta on here for 15, but I haven't tried it on my one. There are a few little things that I love about the 12 that you don't tend to see on spec sheets, such as the crazy handy alert toggle on the side as you'd expect, but also the optical in-display fingerprint scanner that for my thumbs has been the best I've ever tried, even with the film screen protector still on from factory. And although my unit has endured a few scrapes and scratches here and there, the textured glass back has felt the perfect mix of sleek but also grippy, and I haven't run a case on this thing at all. I don't even own one. The overall experience of using the 12 over 6 months has been fantastic, and I'm sure that's due in no small part to the 16GB of RAM and 512 gigs of storage that I have on here. Combining that with the top-of-the-line Snapdragon chip has made performance a non-issue, whether that be in games that I admittedly don't play all that much aside from Golf Battle, browsing socials, which I do much more of, or multitasking on that big bright display. And performance, to be fair, is a non-issue on most phones these days, and it alone isn't the reason I keep coming back to the OnePlus 12. While I don't love the curved sides on the 12, see the touch rejection issue I mentioned earlier, I do love the fact that it gets stupidly bright, because it means no matter what environment I'm in, I'm basically guaranteed to be able to see the thing, which isn't something I'm able to say about every single smartphone on the market. Although I very much appreciate seeing this trend for flagships for the brighter screens across the board. It makes life so much easier. The 12's panel in particular is so sharp and fluid that it's one of those things where you just don't think about it because it's that good. And the speakers might not be the best in the world, but they do a fine job when I do find myself watching YouTube on here. Heck, I've even used the speakers to listen to music when my Bluetooth buds have died, I don't have my dongle on me, and they do a decent job of that too. And dear OnePlus, I know you clearly like what Apple is doing over there, see the software thing I talked about before, but please, for the love in all of tech, do not replace the 3-stage alert toggle on the side of this thing. It's the best there is. I know Apple changed out for a button that I quite frankly dislike, but please do not follow in its footsteps. This is better. I'm not gonna lie to you lot, I like cameras. Some might say I love them, some might say I have an obsession, but I wouldn't go that far. So if a phone doesn't have a great set of shooters, I'm just not holding on to it. And believe me when I say that the OnePlus 12s are some of the best I've tested. Why? Because when you combine big sensors and lenses with the color science endorsed by one of the biggest names in photography history, it's worked here. I have access to a whole manner of different smartphones here, and I could take the Pixel 8 Pro out with me to take photos, but I simply don't need to. The OnePlus 12 has my back, and whether I'm shooting RAW in the Pro mode with some Snapseed tweaks, or I'm leaving it in auto, which is 99% of the time by the way, I can almost guarantee a good image. The big sensors and fast glass enable terrific low light performance, particularly with that main camera, and the color and contrast profile looks pretty much spot on, with excellent color temperature accuracy and an almost characterful look to the 12's images. I've used X-Pan mode more than I thought I would for capturing images simulating the legendary super wide aspect ratio. I love the fact you can pop the camera in video mode and then just select your desired simulated aperture for stupidly easy portrait video. There isn't a separate mode here. And the built-in Pro mode for video is also just what we need. Perhaps the next step being a native log or higher quality codec mode, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I was really skeptical about the 3x optical zoom, and I didn't think it would be as sharp zooming further in as some of the 5x options on the market. But boy was I wrong. In heaps of scenarios, my OnePlus 12 unit beat my Pixel 8 Pro in the far-reaching shots, in both detail and clarity. And while the phone might struggle past say 15 or 20 times to get a clean shot, it's still remarkably usable for a camera whose lens is only 3x optically. This is due to both the beefier 64 megapixel sensor underneath it and OnePlus's processing pulling out details from mushy images at such a big crop. Look, the camera system isn't exactly perfect, and sometimes it might not nail a portrait mode cutout, and in the smartphone video shootout I did not too long ago on this channel, it was obvious that the 12 might not be ideal for filming if you plan on using it as your on-the-go B-roll shooter. But generally, I find the video in Ultra HD 30 and 60 FPS to be solid. I probably wouldn't use the 8K because quite frankly it's not worth the larger file sizes. But that said, I never felt like the 12's video was so bad I needed to switch it out for something else. It just doesn't hit the same way as the stills. And OnePlus's first-party AI eraser is actually pretty handy in a pinch and does a good job of removing small blemishes, but doesn't do a great job on the bigger subjects that you want removed from your photos. It's not quite as good as Google's implementation, but is handy to have built into the phone and does a serviceable job. But the main reason I keep coming back to this phone is the battery life. Despite me having used this thing daily for over 6 months, not only is the battery reporting 100% health, but I haven't felt any distinct drop in battery life since I first took it out of the box. And I have been fast charging it every day, or every other day I should say, with the included 100-watt brick since day one. Look, this thing is a 2-day phone for me, almost every time. Sure, I might not be a power user, and when I go hard on the thing, it only manages a day and a half or a day and a quarter, but even then, that's not all that often. And even with my Garmin connected via Bluetooth, I can depend on my OnePlus 12s give me heaps of battery life, substantially more than the likes of the Pixel 8 Pro. And then when I do need to top it up, it goes from 0 to 100 in less than half an hour, so I don't need to charge it overnight. I just wake up, stick it on charge before I go and shower, brush my teeth and have breakfast, and when I'm done with all of those things, it's finished, it's 100% again. The superb screen, top shelf battery life, fantastic cameras, super handy alert slider, and the just right fingerprint scanner make me keep coming back to the OnePlus 12. Is it the perfect smartphone? No. I think with the 13, OnePlus needs to flatten the display, dial in the video capture detail, and chill out with the iOS tweaks to the software. But right now, at this present moment, the OnePlus 12 is the most complete Android package on the market. What do you think of the OnePlus 12, guys? Are you as sold on it as I am? I just think it does everything so well. It's my Android of the year so far. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And whilst you're down there, hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe if you never want to miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.